September 2nd, 1859. It is 1 a.m. Deep in the Rocky Mountains, a gold miner wakes up. Looking at the horizon, he sees a brilliant light and thinks it's already 7 marks in the morning. He starts preparing his breakfast, but as he checks his pocket watch, he freezes. It is only 1 in the morning. The sky is filled with a mysterious deep crimson light. This was not a normal dawn. It was the first sign of a solar fury that nearly destroyed the Earth. Today, we tell the untold story of the Carrington event. This is not just a tale from history, it is a fundamental truth of our existence. The sun, which gives us life, can also take everything away. The eerie silence of that night was the calm before a cosmic storm. People watched in terror, unaware that the Earth's magnetic shield was already buckling under the pressure. This was a time when technology was in its infancy, yet it was the first to feel the sun's blow. As telegraph wires began to vibrate, humanity realized something terrifying was happening. In this 30-minute documentary, we will explore every stage of this event, from a brewer who unlocked the sun's secrets to the modern world standing once again at the edge of a solar maximum. Let us begin. From Manhattan to London, the world was bathed in an otherworldly violet light. On Broadway, people stood paralyzed, staring at a sky that looked like a fresh wound. To the religious, it was the apocalypse. To the scientists, it was an impossible riddle. But for the operators of the world's first internet, the telegraph, it was a literal death trap. Brass machines came to life, throwing sparks into the air. Operators were knocked unconscious by electrical surges. The chemical paper used for messages burst into flames. The first great revolution in global communication was being dismantled in minutes. The incredible force hitting the planet was equivalent to 10 billion atomic bombs. If this happened today, would we be ready? The terrified people of 1859 didn't know what they were witnessing. They only saw a sky being torn apart in a cosmic war. This was the result of solar plasma colliding with our atmosphere. It was a sight never seen before, and those who saw it would never forget. This prologue reminds us of that terrifying night when the sun nearly burned the Earth. But why did it happen? What is the science behind it? Let us travel back and meet the man who first saw the gunfire, Richard Carrington. Chapter 1. The Brewer and the Sun. Born in 1826, Richard Carrington was destined to run his family's brewery business in London. While the city enjoyed his ale, Carrington's true passion was the infinite sky. By day, he managed the business, but by night, he turned to his telescope. He was an amateur astronomer, but his work rivaled the professionals. In 1852, he built his own observatory at Redhill, focusing his lens on the most mysterious power in our system, the sun. He spent his days sketching sunspots, the dark magnetic storms on the solar surface. September 1st, 1859 was the historic day. It was 11:18 a.m. In his observatory, Carrington was projecting an image of the sun onto a white screen. He was carefully marking the positions of several large sunspots. Suddenly, he saw something no human had ever documented. 2 beads of intense white light erupted from the sun's surface. It was the roar of a cosmic cannon. He ran to find a witness, but by the time he returned, the light had vanished. He wrote in his diary, "Was it a dream?" No, Carrington was right. He had witnessed the first recorded white light flare, an explosion of energy equal to millions of hydrogen bombs. And that energy was now racing toward Earth. Carrington was the first to realize the sun and Earth were directly connected. His discovery changed astronomy forever. But in that moment, he didn't know he had just watched the launch of 1 billion tons of plasma, a coronal mass ejection, aimed directly at his home planet. Now, we follow that cloud of fire across the void. Chapter 2. The Speed of Doom. The solar explosion was a coronal mass ejection, or CME, a massive cloud of superheated plasma. As it broke free from the sun's gravity, its speed was unbelievable. Normally, a solar storm takes 2 to 4 days to reach Earth, but the 1859 storm was an exceptional monster. It crossed the 93 million-mile void in just 17 hours and 6 minutes, traveling at over 4 million miles per hour. While humanity slept, a destructive force was closing in. Earth's magnetic shield, the magnetosphere, was compressed and distorted by the sheer pressure. It was an uneven battle. As the plasma struck our shield, it was funneled toward the poles, charging our atmosphere with electricity. At 3 a.m. on September 2nd, the entire atmosphere became a conductor. When telegraph operators saw their wires come alive, they realized something from space had entered our world. This was a massive lesson for science. The sun does not just provide light and heat, it has the power to dismantle our protection. As the cloud entered the atmosphere, the largest geomagnetic storm in history began. We will see the results in our next chapter, exploring the collapse of the world's first technology. It was a moment when humanity realized how helpless we truly are. The speed of the sun's fury had no defense. Earth was now fighting for its survival. Those 17 hours were a turning point in our fate, a warning that still haunts scientists today as we approach 2026. Because the speed of the sun remains unchanged, scientists call it a perfect storm, a direct hit that created a geomagnetic surge of unprecedented scale. Let us see what the telegraph operators felt that night. It was the story of technology's first great defeat. As the storm intensified, the aurora borealis didn't stay in the north. It reached Cuba, Hawaii, and Mexico. Sailors thought the oceans were on fire. The beauty of the red sky was actually the sound of our atmosphere burning. This is the end of part 1. In part 2, we will explore the global technological collapse, the science of the 11-year solar cycle, and why our modern world is more vulnerable now than ever before. We will see how NASA is preparing for 2026 and what we can do to survive the next Carrington event. Stay with us for the conclusion of this epic journey. By the morning of September 2nd, the Victorian internet was in ruins. Telegraph lines across the globe were flowing with current, even where no batteries were connected. In Philadelphia and New York, operators were shocked, literally, as sparks jumped from their brass keys. In some offices, the chemical paper used to record messages spontaneously burst into flames. It was a scene of technological possession. But the most incredible moment occurred between operators in Portland, Maine, and Boston. They disconnected their batteries entirely and found they could still communicate perfectly. They were running on celestial electricity, pure energy harvested from the atmosphere by the sun's fury. It was a beautiful but terrifying display of nature's power over human invention. Today, we understand that this was a warning. If we were this vulnerable in 1859, how would we survive today? Our modern world is built on a web of wires and signals far more fragile than the copper of the 19th century. We are living in a house of cards, and the sun is about to blow. The Carrington event didn't just break machines, it may have altered the course of history. In the tense months leading up to the American Civil War, the storm caused a total communication blackout between northern and southern states. Critical diplomatic messages and news of troop movements were lost in the static of the red sky. Historians have long debated how much this cosmic silence contributed to the inevitable conflict. For a moment, the Victorian internet fell silent, leaving a nation in the dark at its most critical hour. It was a stark reminder that nature does not care for human politics or wars. It moves to its own rhythm, and when it strikes, it humbles the powerful and the common alike. The telegraph lines were eventually repaired, but the psychological impact of that night stayed with the operators and politicians forever. They had seen the first great technological defeat at the hands of a star. Chapter 5. The Science of the Monster. Why did this happen in 1859? Modern science tells us the sun follows an 11-year cycle of activity. Richard Carrington caught the sun at its absolute peak, the solar maximum. Sunspots are magnetic anchors on the solar surface. When these magnetic lines twist and snap, they release energy equivalent to millions of atomic bombs. This is a solar flare. The mass of plasma launched into space is a coronal mass ejection. The Carrington storm was a direct hit from an X-class flare, the most powerful category known to science. It was the perfect storm, a cosmic bullet aimed directly at Earth. We are now mapping these cycles with unprecedented precision, watching every sunspot as if it were a ticking time bomb. Because we know that the sun is not a constant friend, it is a churning, violent nuclear furnace that can turn on us at any moment. Our understanding has grown, but the threat remains just as real. Chapter 6. The Modern Risk. Our world is now built on fragile silicon and invisible signals. A Carrington-level event in 2026 would not just burn telegraph wires, it would fry the global power grid. High-voltage transformers, which take months to replace, would melt in minutes. We would face a global blackout that could last for years. No GPS means no modern aviation or shipping. No internet means no banking, no logistics, and no food supply chains. Experts estimate the damage would be in the trillions of dollars, and social collapse could happen in a matter of days. We are more vulnerable now than we have ever been in human history. We have traded our resilience for efficiency, and the sun knows our weakness. The 2026 solar maximum is approaching, and the question is no longer if it will happen, but when. Are we prepared to live in a world without technology, or will we find a way to shield ourselves from the cosmic fire? We are not entirely defenseless. NASA's Parker Solar Probe is currently touching the sun to help us understand these storms before they strike. We are building global early warning systems that could give us a 15-minute window to shut down the grids and save our technology. But 15 minutes is not long. The Carrington event serves as a constant reminder of our place in the universe. We are small, fragile, and entirely dependent on a star that can be both life-giver and destroyer. Let 2026 be a year of awareness. As we look up at the sky, let us remember the red night of 1859 and the man who saw the gunfire. Our survival depends on our ability to respect the sun and prepare for its next great eruption. The clock is ticking. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the fire. Stay safe and stay prepared.